Joshua 1. After the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. He said, "Moses, my servant is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. I promise you what I promised Moses. Wherever you set foot, you will be on land I have given you, from the Negev wilderness in the south to the Lebanon mountains in the north, from the Euphrates River in the east to the Mediterranean Sea in the west, including all the land of the Hittites. No one will be able to stand against you as long as you live, for I will be with you as I was with Moses. I will not fail you or abandon you. Be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything you do. Study this book of instruction continually. Meditate on it day and night, so you will be sure to obey everything written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. This is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go." Joshua then commanded the officers of Israel, "Go through the camp and tell the people to get their provisions ready. In 3 days you will cross the Jordan River and take possession of the land the Lord your God is giving you." Then Joshua called together the tribes of Reuben, Gad, and the half-tribe of Manasseh. He told them, "Remember what Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you. The Lord your God is giving you a place of rest. He has given you this land. Your wives, children, and livestock may remain here, in the land Moses assigned to you, on the east side of the Jordan River. But your strong warriors, fully armed, must lead the other tribes across the Jordan to help them conquer their territory. Stay with them until the Lord your God gives them rest, as he has given you rest, and until they too possess the land the Lord your God is giving them. Only then may you return and settle here on the east side of the Jordan River, in the land that Moses, the servant of the Lord, assigned to you." They answered Joshua, "We will do whatever you command us, and we will go wherever you send us. We will obey you just as we obeyed Moses, and may the Lord your God be with you, as he was with Moses. Anyone who rebels against your orders and does not obey your words and everything you command will be put to death. So, be strong and courageous."
Chapter 2. Then Joshua, son of Nun, secretly sent 2 spies to Shittim. "Go, look over the land," he said, "especially Jericho." So they went and entered the house of a prostitute named Rahab and stayed there. The king of Jericho was told, "Look, some of the Israelites have come here tonight to spy out our land." So the king of Jericho sent his message to Rahab, "Bring out the men who came to you and entered your house, because they have come to spy out the whole land." But the woman had taken the 2 men and hid them. She said, "Yes, men came to me, but I did not know where they came from. At dusk, when the time was to close the city gate, the men left. I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly. You may catch up with them." But she had taken them up to the roof and hidden them under a stalk of flax she had laid out on the roof. So the men set out in pursuit of the spies on the road that led to the ford of the Jordan. As soon as the pursuers had gone out, the gate was shut. Before the spies lay down for the night, she went up to the roof and said to them, "I know that the Lord had given you this land, to you, and that a great fear of you has fallen on us, so that all who live in this country are melting in fear because of you. We have heard how the Lord dried up the waters of the Red Sea for you when you came out of Egypt, and what you did to Sihon and Og, the 2 kings of the Amorites east of Jordan, whom you completely destroyed. When we heard of it, our hearts sank, and everyone's courage failed because of you. For the Lord your God is God in heaven above and on earth below. Now, please swear to me by the Lord that you will show kindness to me, to my family, because I have shown kindness to you. Give me a sure sign that you will spare the lives of my father and my mother, my brothers and sisters, and all who belong to them, and that you will save us from death. Our lives for your lives, the men assured her. If you don't tell what we are doing, we will treat you kindly and faithfully when the Lord gives us this land. So she let them down by a rope through the window, for the house she lived was in the walls, was in the part of the city walls. Now she had said to them, Go to the hills, and the pursuers will not find you. Hide yourselves there 3 days until they return, then go your way. Then the men said to her, This oath you made us swear will not be binding on us, unless when we enter the land you have tied the scarlet cord in the window through which you let us down. And unless you have brought your father and mother, your brothers and all your family into the house. If anyone goes outside your house into the streets, his blood will be on his own head. We will not be responsible. As for anyone who is in the house with you, his blood will be, on his own head is laid on him. But if you tell whatever we are doing, we will be released from the oath you made us swear. Agreed, she replied. Let it be as you say. So she sent them away, and they departed. She tied the scarlet cord in the window. When they left, they went into the hills and stayed there 3 days, until the pursuers had searched all along the road and returned without finding them. Then the 2 men started back. They went down out of the hills, forded the river, and came to Joshua, son of Nun, and told him everything that had happened to them. They said to Joshua, The Lord has surely given us this whole land into your hands. All the people are melting in fear because of us.
Chapter 3. Crossing the Jordan. Early in the morning, Joshua and all the Israelites set out from Shittim and went to the Jordan, where they camped before crossing over. After 3 days, the officers went throughout the camp, giving orders to the people. When you see the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God and the priests, who are Levites, carrying it, you are to move out from your positions and follow it. Then you will know which way to go, since you have never been this way before. But keep a distance of about 1,000 yards between you and the ark. Do not go near it. Joshua told the people, Consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do amazing things among you. Joshua said to the priests, Take up the ark of the covenant and pass on ahead of the people. So they took it up and went ahead of them. And the Lord said to Joshua, Today I will begin to exalt you in the eyes of all Israel, so they may know that I am with you as I was with Moses. Tell the priests who carry the ark of the covenant, when you reach the edge of the Jordan's waters, go and stand in the river. Joshua said to the Israelites, Come here and listen to the words of the Lord your God. This is how you will know that the living God is among you, and that he will certainly drive out before you the Canaanites, Hittites, Hivites, the Perizzites, Girgashites, Amorites, and Jebusites. See, the ark of the covenant of the Lord of all the earth will go into the Jordan ahead of you. Now, then choose 12 men from the tribes of Israel, one from each tribe. And as soon as the priests who carried the ark of the Lord of all the earth, set foot in the Jordan, its waters flowing downstream will be cut off and stand up in a heap. So when the people broke camp to cross the Jordan, the priests carrying the ark of the covenant went ahead of them. Now the Jordan is at flood stage, all during harvest. Yet, as soon as the priests who carried the ark reached the Jordan and their feet touched the water's edge, the water from upstream stopped flowing. It piled up in a heap a great distance away at a town called Adam, in the vicinity of Jerusalem, while the water flowing down to the sea of the Arabah, the Salt Sea, was completely cut off. So the people crossed over opposite Jericho. The priests who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord stood firm on dry ground in the middle of the Jordan, while all Israel passed by until the whole nation had completed the crossing on dry ground.
Chapter 4. 12 memorial stones from the Jordan. When all the nation had finished passing over the Jordan, the Lord said to Joshua, "Take 12 men from the people, from each tribe a man, and command them, saying, 'Take 12 stones from here, out of the midst of the Jordan, from the very place where the priest's feet stood firmly, and bring them over with you, and lay them down in the place where you lodge tonight.'" Then Joshua called the 12 men from the people of Israel, whom he had appointed, a man from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, pass on before the ark of the Lord your God into the midst of the Jordan, and take up each of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of the people of Israel, that this may be a sign among you. When your children should ask in time to come, 'What do those stones mean to you?' then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord when it passed over the Jordan. The waters of the Jordan were cut off, so these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever." And the people of Israel did just as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the midst of the Jordan, according to the number of the tribes of the people of Israel, just as the Lord told Joshua. And they carried them over with them to the place where they lodged, and laid them down there. And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of the Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests bearing the ark of the covenant had stood, and they are there to this day. For the priests bearing the ark stood in the midst of the Jordan until everything was finished that the Lord commanded Joshua to tell the people, according to all that Moses had commanded Joshua. The people passed over in haste, and when all the people had finished passing over, the ark of the Lord and the priests passed over before the people. The sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad and the half-tribe of Manasseh passed over armed before the people of Israel, as Moses had told them. About 40,000 ready for war passed over before the Lord for battle to the plains of Jericho. And on that day the Lord exalted Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they stood in awe of him, just as they had stood in awe of Moses all the days of his life. And the Lord said to Joshua, "Command the priests bearing the ark of the testimony to come up out of the Jordan." So Joshua commanded the priests, "Come up out of the Jordan." And when the priests bearing the ark of the covenant of the Lord came up from the midst of the Jordan, and the soles of the priests' feet were lifted up on dry ground, the waters of the Jordan returned to their place and overflowed all its banks as before. The people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they encamped at Gilgal on the east border of Jericho. And those 12 stones which they took out of the Jordan, Joshua set up at Gilgal. And he said to the people of Israel, "When your children ask their fathers in times to come, 'What do these stones mean?' then you shall let your children know, Israel passed over the Jordan this day on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan for you until you passed over, as the Lord your God did to the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over, so that all the peoples of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, that you may fear the Lord your God forever.
Joshua 5. Now when all the Amorite kings west of the Jordan and all the Canaanite kings along the coast heard of how the Lord had dried up the Jordan before the Israelites until they had crossed over, their hearts melted in fear, and they no longer had the courage to face the Israelites. At that time, the Lord said to Joshua, "Make flint knives and circumcise the Israelites again." So Joshua made flint knives and circumcised the Israelites at Gibeath Haaraloth. Now this is why he did so. All those who came out of Egypt, all the men of military age, died in the wilderness on the way after leaving Egypt. All the people that came out had been circumcised, but all the people born in the wilderness during the journey from Egypt had not. The Israelites had moved about in the wilderness 40 years until all the men who were of military age when they left Egypt had died, since they had not obeyed the Lord. For the Lord had sworn to them that they would not see the land he had solemnly promised their ancestors, to give us a land flowing with milk and honey. So he raised up their sons in their place, and these were the ones Joshua circumcised. They were still uncircumcised, because they had not been circumcised on the way. And after the whole nation had been circumcised, they remained where they were in camp until they were healed. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Today I have rolled away the reproach of Egypt from you." So the place has been called Gilgal to this day. On the evening of the 14th day of the month, while camped at Gilgal on the plains of Jericho, the Israelites celebrated the Passover. The day after the Passover, that very day, they ate some of the produce of the land, unleavened bread and roasted grain. The manna stopped the day after they ate this food from the land. There was no longer any manna for the Israelites, but that year they ate the produce of Canaan. Now, when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied, "but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so.
Chapter 6. Now the gates of Jericho were tightly shut because the people were afraid of the Israelites. No one was allowed to go out or in, but the Lord said to Joshua, "I have given you Jericho, its king, and all its strong warriors. You and your fighting men should march around the town once a day for 6 days. 7 priests will walk ahead of the ark, each carrying a ram's horn. On the 7th day, you are to march around the town 7 times, with the priests blowing the horns. When you hear the priests give one long blast on the ram's horns, have all the people shout as loud as they can. Then the walls of the town will collapse, and the people can charge straight into the town." So Joshua called together the priests and said, "Take up the ark of the Lord's covenant and assign 7 priests to walk in front of it, each carrying a ram's horn." Then he gave orders to the people, "March around the town, and the armed men will lead the way in front of the ark of the Lord." After Joshua spoke to the people, the 7 priests with the ram's horns started marching in the presence of the Lord, blowing the horns as they marched, and the ark of the Lord's covenant followed behind them. Some of the armed men marched in front of the priests with the horns and some behind the ark, with the priests continually blowing the horns. "Do not shout, do not even talk, Joshua commanded. Not a single word from any of you until I tell you to shout, then shout. So the ark of the Lord was carried around the town once that day, and then everyone returned to spend the night in the camp. Joshua got up early the next morning, and the priests again carried the ark of the Lord. The 7 priests with the ram's horns marched in front of the ark of the Lord, blowing the horns. Again, the armed men marched both in front of the priests, with the horns behind the ark of the Lord. All this time the priests were blowing their horns. On the second day they again marched around the town once and returned to the camp. They followed this pattern for 6 days. On the 7th day, the Israelites got up at dawn and marched around the town as they had done before. But this time they went around the town 7 times. The 7th time around, as the priests sounded the long blast of their horns, Joshua commanded the people, "Shout, for the Lord has given you the town. Jericho and everything in it must be completely destroyed as an offering to the Lord. Only Rahab the prostitute and the others in her house will be spared, for she protected our spies. Do not take any of the things set apart for destruction, or you yourselves will be completely destroyed, and you will bring trouble on the camp of Israel. Everything made from silver, gold, bronze, or iron is sacred to the Lord and must be brought into his treasury." When the people heard the sound of the ram's horns, they shouted as loud as they could. Suddenly the walls of Jericho collapsed, and the Israelites charged straight into the town and captured it. They completely destroyed everything in it with their swords, men and women, young and old, cattle, sheep, goats and donkeys. Meanwhile, Joshua said to the 2 spies, "Keep your promise. Go to the prostitute's house and bring her out, along with all her family." The men who had been spies went in and brought out Rahab, her father, mother, brothers, and all the other relatives who were with her. They moved her whole family to a safe place near the camp of Israel. Then the Israelites burned the town and everything in it. Only the things made from silver, gold, bronze, or iron were kept for the treasury of the Lord's house. So Joshua spared Rahab the prostitute and her relatives who were with her in the house, because she had hidden the spies Joshua sent to Jericho, and she lives among the Israelites to this day. At that time Joshua evoked this curse: "May the curse of the Lord fall on anyone who tries to rebuild the town of Jericho. And the cost of his firstborn son, he will lay its foundation. At the cost of his youngest son, he will set up its gates." So the Lord Joshua and his reputation spread throughout the land.
But the children of Israel committed a trespass regarding the accursed things. For Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed things, so the anger of the Lord burned against the children of Israel. Now Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Beth Evan, on the east side of Bethel, and spoke to them, saying, "Go up and spy out the country." So the men went up and spied out Ai. And they returned to Joshua and said to him, "Do not let all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and attack Ai. Do not weary all the people there, for the people of Ai are few." So about 3,000 men went up from there from the people, but they fled before the men of Ai. And the men of Ai struck down about 36 men, for they chased them from before the gate as far as Shebarim, and struck them down at the descent, before the hearts of the people melted and became like water. Then Joshua tore off his clothes and fell to the earth on his face before the ark of the Lord until evening, he and the elders of Israel, and they put dust on their heads. And Joshua said, "Alas, Lord God, why have you brought these people over the Jordan at all, to deliver us into the hands of the Amorites, to destroy us? Oh, that we have been content and dwelt on the other side of the Jordan. Oh Lord, what shall I say when Israel turns its back before its enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land will hear it and surround us and cut off our name from the earth. Then what will you do for your great name?" So the Lord said to Joshua, Get up. Why do you lie thus on your face? Israel has sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant, which I have commanded them. For they have even taken some of the accursed things, and have both stolen and deceived, and they have put it among their own stuff. Therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they have become doomed to destruction. Neither will I be with you anymore, unless you destroy the accursed things, the accursed from among you. Get up, sanctify the people, and say, sanctify yourselves for tomorrow, because thus says the Lord, God of Israel, there's an accursed things in your midst. O Israel, you cannot stand before your enemies until you take away the accursed things from among you. In the morning, therefore, you shall be brought according to your tribe, and it shall be that tribe which the Lord takes shall come according to the families, and the family which the Lord takes shall come by the households, and the household which the Lord takes shall come man by man. Then it shall be that he who is taken with the accursed thing shall be burned with fire, he and all that he has, because he has transgressed the covenant of the Lord, and because he has done a disgraceful thing in Israel. So Joshua rose early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes, and the tribe of Judah was taken. He brought the clan of Judah, and he took the family of the Zarhites. And he brought the family of the Zarhites man by man, and Zabdi was taken. Then he brought his household man by man, and Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, was taken. Now Joshua said to Achan, my son, I beg you, give glory to the Lord God of Israel, and make confession to him, and tell me now what you have done. Do not hide it from me. And Achan answered Joshua and said, indeed, I have sinned against the Lord, God of Israel, and this is what I have done. When I saw among the spoils a beautiful Babylonian garment, 200 shekels of silver, and a wedge of gold, weighing 50 shekels, I converted them and took them. And there they are, hidden in the earth in the midst of my tent, with the silver under it. So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran to the tent, and there it was, hidden in his tent, with the silver under it. And they took them from the midst of the tent, brought them to Joshua and to all the children of Israel, and laid them out before the Lord. Then Joshua and all of Israel with him took Achan, the son of Zerah, the silver garment, the wedge of gold, his sons, his daughters, his oxen, his donkeys, his sheep, his tent, and all that he had, and they brought them to the valley of Achor. And Joshua said, why have you troubled us? The Lord will trouble you this day. So all Israel stoned him with stones, and they burned them with fire after they had stoned them with the stones. Then they raised over him a great heap of stones, still there till this day. So the Lord turned from the fierceness of his anger. Therefore, the name of that place has been called the Valley of Achor till this day.
I'm reading from Joshua chapter 8. Ai captured by a stratagem and destroyed. Then the Lord said to Joshua, do not fear or be dismayed. Take all the fighting men with you and go up to Ai. See, I have handed over to you the king of Ai with his people, his city, and his land. You shall do to Ai and its king as you did to Jericho and its king, except that you may take its spoil and plunder its livestock for yourselves. Set an ambush against the city behind it. So Joshua and all the fighting men set out to go against Ai. Joshua chose 30,000 warriors and set them out by night. When they command, you shall lie in ambush and against the city behind it. Do not go very far from the city, but all of you stay alert. I and all the people who are with me will approach the city. When they come out ambush us, as before, we will flee from them. They will come out after us until we have drawn them away from the city. For they will say, they are fleeing from us as before. While we flee from them, you shall rise up and ambush and seize the city. For the Lord your God will give it into your hand. And when you have taken the city, you shall set the city on fire, doing as the Lord had ordered. See, I have commanded you. So Joseph sent them out, and they went to the place of ambush and lay between Bethel and Ai, to the west of Ai. But Joshua spent the night with the people. In the morning, Joshua rose early, mustered the people, and went up with the elders of Israel before the people of Ai. All the fighting men who were with him went up and drew near before the city and camped on the north side of Ai, with the raven between them and Ai, taking about 5,000 men. He set them in ambush between Bethel and Ai, to the west of the city. So they stationed the forces, the main encampment, and was north of the city, and its rear guard west of the city. And Joshua went the night into the valley. When the king of Ai saw this, he and all his people, the inhabitants of the city, hurried out early in the morning to meeting place facing Arabah to meet Israel in battle. But he did not know that there was an ambush against him behind the city. And Joshua and all Israel made a pretense of being beaten before them and fled in the direction of the wilderness. So all the people who were in the city were called together to pursue them. And as they pursued Joshua, they were drawn away from the city. There was not a man left in Ai who did not go out after Israel. They left the city open and pursued Israel. Then the Lord said to Joshua, stretch out the sword that in your hand toward Ai, for I will give it into your hand. And Joshua stretched out the sword that was in his hand toward the city. As soon as he stretched out his hand, the troops in ambush rose quickly out of the place and rushed forward. They entered the city, took it, and at once set the city afire. So when the men of Ai looked back, the smoke of the city was rising to the sky. They had no power to flee this way or that, for the people who fled to the wilderness turned back against the pursuers. When Joshua and all Israel saw the ambush had taken the city, and that smoke of the city was rising, then they turned back and struck down the men of Ai. And the other Israelites came out from the city against them. So they were surrounded by Israelites, some on one side and some on the other side. And Israel struck down until no one was left who survived or escaped. But the king of Ai was taken alive and brought to Joshua. When Israel had finished killing all the inhabitants of Ai in the open wilderness, they pursued them. And when all of them, to the very last, had fallen by the edge of the sword, all Israel returned to Ai, attacked it with the edge of the sword. The total of those who fell that day, both men and women, was 12,000, all the people of Ai. For Joshua did not draw back his hand with which he stretched out the sword until he utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Only the livestock and spoil of the city Israel plundered for themselves, according to the word of the Lord that had issued to Joshua. So Joshua turned Ai, made it forever a heap of ruins. So it is to this day. And he hanged the king of Ai on a tree until evening and sunset. And at sunset, Joshua commanded that they took his body down from the tree. There it threw it down at the entrance of the gate of the city and raised over it a heap of stones which stands there this day. And Joshua renewed the covenant. Then Joshua built Mount Ebal, an altar to the Lord, the God of Israel. Just as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded the Israelites, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of unhewn stones, on which no iron tool has been used. And they offered unto it burnt offerings to the Lord, and sacrificed offerings of well-being. And there, in the presence of the Israelites, Joshua wrote on the stones a copy of the law of Moses that he had written. All Israel, alien as well as native born, with their elders and officers and their judges, stood on opposite side of the ark in front of the Levitical priests, who carried the ark of the covenant of the Lord, half of them in front of Mount Gerizim, and half of them in front of Mount Ebal, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded earlier, that they should bless the people of Israel. And afterward he read all the words of the law, blessings and curses, according to all that the law, hallelujah. Sorry, I didn't say that. And afterward he read all the words of the law, blessings and curses, according to all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all the Moses command that Joshua did not read before all the assembly of Israel, and the women and the little children, and the aliens who resides among them. Amen. Thank you.
Chapter 9. Now when all the kings who were beyond the Jordan, in the hill country and in the lowland, all along the coast of the Great Sea towards Lebanon, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, heard of this, they gathered together with one accord to fight Joshua and Israel. But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and to Ai, they, on their part, acted with cunning. They went and prepared provisions and took worn-out sacks for their donkeys, and wineskins worn out and torn and mended, with worn-out patched sandals on their feet, and worn-out clothes, and all their provisions were dry and mouldy. They went to Joshua in the camp at Gilgal, and said to him and to the Israelites, "We have come from a far country, so now make a treaty with us." But the Israelites said to the Hivites, "Perhaps you live among us, then how can we make a treaty with you?" They said to Joshua, "We are your servants." And Joshua said to them, "Who are you, and where do you come from?" They said to him, "Your servants have come from a very far country, because of the name of the Lord your God, for we have heard a report of him and all that he did in Egypt, and of all that he did to the two kings of the Amorites who were beyond the Jordan, King Sihon of Heshbon and King Og of Bashan, who lived in Ashtaroth." So our elders and all the inhabitants of our country said to us, "Take provisions in your hand for the journey. Go to meet them and say to them, 'We are your servants. Come now and make a treaty with us. Here is our bread. It was still warm when we took it from our houses as our food for the journey on the day we set out to come to you. But now, see, it is dry and mouldy. These wineskins were new when we filled them, And see, they are burst, and these garments and sandals of ours are worn out from the very long journey. So the leaders partook of their provisions and did not ask direction from the Lord. And Joshua made peace with them, guaranteeing their lives by a treaty, and the leaders of the congregation swore an oath to them. But when 3 days had passed after they had made a treaty with them, they heard that they were neighbours and were living among them. So the Israelites set out and reached their cities on the 3rd day. Now their cities were Gibeon, Kephirah, Beeroth, and Kiriath Jearim. But the Israelites did not attack them because the leaders of the congregation had sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel. Then all the congregation murmured against the leaders. But all the leaders said to the congregation, "We have sworn to them by the Lord, the God of Israel, and now we must not touch them. This is what we will do to them. We will let them live, so that the wrath may not come upon us, because of the oath that we swore to them." The leaders said to them, "Let them live." So they became hewers of wood and drawers of water for all the congregation, as the leaders had decided concerning them. Joshua summoned them and said to them, "Why did you deceive us, saying we are very far from you, while in fact you are living among us? Now, therefore, you are cursed, and some of you shall always be slaves, hewers of wood and drawers of water for the house of my God." They answered Joshua, "Because it was told to your servants for a certainty that the Lord your God had commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land before you. So we were in great fear for our lives because of you and did this thing. And now we are in your hand. Do as it seems good and right in your sight to do to us." This is what he did for them. He saved them from the Israelites, and they did not kill them. But on that day, Joshua made them hewers of wood and drawers of water for the congregation and for the altar of the Lord, to continue to this day in the place that he should choose.
Joshua 10. Now it came to pass when Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and had utterly destroyed it, as he had done to Jericho and her king. So he had done to Ai and her king, and how the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and were among them that they feared greatly, because Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, and because it was greater than Ai. And all the men thereof were mighty. Wherefore Adonizedek, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Piram, king of Jarmuth, and unto Japhia, king of Lachish, and unto Deborah, king of Eglon, saying, "Come up unto me and help me, that we may smite Gibeon." For he had made peace with Joshua and with the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorite, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they and all their host, and encamped before Gibeon, and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua to the camp of Gilgal, saying, "Slack not thy hand from thy servant. Come up to us quickly, and save us, and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites that dwell in the mountains are gathered together against us." So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the mighty men of valor. And the Lord said unto Joshua, "Fear them not, for I have delivered them unto thy hand. There shall not a man of them stand before thee." Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, and went up from Gilgal all night, and the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth-horon, and smote them to Ezekah and unto Makkedah. And it came to pass, as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Beth-horon, and the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them unto Ezekiel, and they died. And they were more which died with hailstones than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Then spake Joshua to the Lord in the day when the Lord delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Ajalon. And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Jeshua? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. And there was no day like that before it or after it, that the Lord hearkened unto the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp of Gilgal. But these 5 kings fled and hid themselves in the cave of Makkedah. And it was told Joshua, saying, the 5 kings are found hid in the cave at Makkedah. And Joshua said, roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave, and set men by it for to keep them. And stay ye not, but pursue after your enemies, and smite the hindmost of them. Suffer them not to enter into their cities, for the Lord your God hath delivered them unto your hand. And it came to pass, when Joshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with a very great slaughter, till they were consumed, that the rest which remained of them entered into fenced cities. And all the people returned to the camp of Joshua at Makkedah in peace. None moved his tongue against any of the children of Israel. Then said Joshua, open the mouth of the cave, and bring out those 5 kings unto me out of the cave. And they did so, and brought forth those 5 kings unto him out of the cave, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Yarmouth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And it came to pass, when they brought out these kings unto Joshua, that Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said unto the captains of the men of war, which went with him, Come near, put your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near and put their feet upon the necks of them. And Joshua said unto them, fear not, nor be dismayed. Be strong and of good courage. For thus shall the Lord do to all your enemies against whom you fight. And afterwards Joshua smote them and slew them and hanged them on 5 trees. And they were hanging upon the trees unto the evening. And it came to pass at the time of going down to the sun, that Joshua commanded, and they took them down of the trees, and cast them unto the cave wherein they had been hid, and laid great stones in the cave's mouth, which remain until this very day. And that day Joshua took Makkedah, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof he utterly destroyed them, and all the souls that were therein, and he let none remain. And he did to the king of Makkedah as he did unto the king of Jericho. Then Joshua passed from Makkedah, and all Israel with him, unto Libnah, and fought against Libnah. And the Lord delivered it also, and the king thereof unto the hand of Israel. And he smote it with the edge of the sword. And all the souls that were therein, he let none remain in it, but did unto the king thereof as he did unto the king of Jericho. And Joshua passed from Libnah, and all Israel with him, unto Lachish, and encamped against it, and fought against it. And the Lord delivered Lachish unto the hand of Israel, which took it on the 2nd day, and smote it with the edge of the sword. And all the souls that were therein, according to all that had done to Libnah. Then Horah king of Gezer came up to help Lachish, and Joshua smote him and his people, and until he had left him none remaining. And from Lachish Joshua passed unto Eglon, and all Israel with him, and they encamped against it, and fought against it. And they took it on that day, and smote it with the edge of the sword. And all the souls that were therein he utterly destroyed that day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. And Joshua went up from Eglon, and all Israel with him, unto Hebron, and they fought against it. And they took it and smote it with the edge of the sword. And the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and all the souls that were therein, he left none remaining, according to all that he had done to Eglon, and destroyed it utterly, and all the souls that were therein. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to Debir, and fought against it. And he took it, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof. And they smote it with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls that were therein. He left none remaining. As he had done to Hebron, so he did to Debir, to the king thereof, as he had done also to Libnah, and to her king. So Joshua smote all the country of the hills, and all of the south, and all of the vale, and all of the springs, and all of the kings. He had left none remaining, but utterly destroyed all that breathed, as the Lord God of Israel commanded. And Joshua smote them from Kadesh Barnea even unto Gezer, and all the country of Goshen, even unto Gibeon, and all the kings and their land did Joshua take at one time, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. And Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, unto the camp to Gilgal.
Joshua 11. When Jabin, king of Hazor, heard of this, he sent word to Joab, king of Madon, to the kings of Shimron and Akshaph, and to the northern kings who were in the mountains, in the Arabah, south of Kinnereth, in the western foothills, and in Naphoth Dor on the west, to the Canaanites in the east and west, to the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and Jebusites in the hill country, and to the Hivites below Hermon in the region of Mizpah. They came out with all their troops and a large number of horses and chariots, a huge army, as numerous as the sand on the seashore. All these kings joined forces and made camp together at the waters of Merom to fight against Israel. The Lord said to Joshua, "Do not be afraid of them, because by this time tomorrow I will hand all of them slain over to Israel. You are to hamstring their horses and burn their chariots." So Joshua and his whole army came against them suddenly in the waters of Merom and attacked them, and the Lord gave them into the hand of Israel. They defeated them and pursued them all the way to Greater Sidon, to Misrephoth, Maim, and to the valley of Mizpah on the east, until no survivors were left. Joshua did to them as the Lord had directed. He hamstrung their horses and burned their chariots. At that time, Joshua turned back and captured Hazor and put its kings to the sword. Hazor had been the head of all these kingdoms. Everyone in it they put to the sword. They totally destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed, and he burned Hazor itself. Joshua took all these royal cities and their kings and put them to the sword. He totally destroyed them, as Moses, the servant of the Lord, had commanded. Yet Israel did not burn any of the cities built on their mounds, except Hazor, which Joshua burned. The Israelites carried off for themselves all the plunder and livestock of these cities, but all the people they put to the sword until they completely destroyed them, not sparing anyone that breathed. As the Lord commanded his servant Moses, so Moses commanded Joshua, and Joshua did it. He left nothing undone of all that the Lord commanded Moses. So Joshua took the entire land, the hill country, all the Negev, the whole region of Goshen, the western foothills, the Arabah, the mountains of Israel with their foothills, from Mount Halak, which rises towards Seir, to Baal Gad, to the valley of Lebanon, below Mount Hermon. He captured all their kings and put them to death. Joshua waged war against all these kings for a long time, except for the Hivites living in Gibeon. Not one city made a treaty of peace with the Israelites, who took them all in battle. For it was the Lord himself who hardened their hearts to wage war against Israel, so that he might destroy them totally. exterminating them without mercy, as the Lord had commanded Moses. At that time, Joshua went and destroyed the Anakites from the hill country, from Hebron, Debir, and Anab, from all the hill country of Judah, and from the hill country of Israel. Joshua totally destroyed them and their towns. No Anakites were left in Israelite territory. Only in Gaza, Gath, and Ashdod did any survive. So Joshua took the entire land, just as the Lord had directed Moses, and he gave it as an inheritance to Israel, according to their tribal divisions. Then the land had rest from war.
Of the land whom the Israelites defeated, and whose land they took possession of east of the Jordan, from the river Arnon to Mount Hermon, and all the Arab eastwards. Sihon, king of Amorites, who dwelt in Heshbon, and ruled from Aurora, on the edge of the valley of the river Ammon, and from the middle of the valley as far as the river Jabbok, the boundary of Ammonites, including half of Gilead, and the Arabah to the sea of Chinneroth, eastwards, and in the direction of Bet Jeshimoth, to the sea of the Arabah, the salt or the Dead Sea, south to the foot of the slopes of Pisgah, and Og, king of Bashan, one of the remnants of Rephan, who lived at Asheroth, at the Edrei, and ruled over Mount Hebron of Salem, and all of the Bashan to the boundaries of Geshurites, and all the Machonites, and over half of Gilead to the boundaries of Sihon, king of Heshbon. These Moses, the servants of the Lord, and the Israelites defeated. And Moses, the servants of the Lord, gave their land for a possession to the Reubenites, Gadites, and half of Manasseh. These are the kings of the land whom Joshua, the Israelites, defeated. And on the west side of Jordan, from Baal-Gad, in the valley of Lebanon, to Mount Halak, which rises towards Seir. Joshua gave their lands to the tribes of Israel for possession according to all the allotments. In the hill country, in the lowlands, in the Arabah, and on the slopes, in the wilderness, and in Negev, the land of the Hittites, Amorites, the Canaanites, the Jerizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites. The king of Jericho, 1. The king of Ai, which is beside Bethel, 1. The king of Jerusalem, 1. The king of Hebron, 1. The king of Jarmuth, 1. The king of Lachish, 1. The king of Egdon, 1. The king of Gezer, 1. The king of Debir, 1. The king of Gida, 1. The king of Homa, 1. The king of Arad, 1. The king of Libnah, 1. The king of Adullam, 1. The king of Makkedah, 1. The king of Bethel, 1. The king of Tapua, 1. The king of Heper, 1. The king of Athek, 1. The king of Lasharon, 1. The king of Madon, 1. The king of Hazor, 1. The king of Shemron Meron, 1. The king of Asherah, 1. The king of Tanak, 1. The king of Megiddo, 1. The king of Kadesh, 1. The king of Jokneam is the king of Jokneam in Carmel, 1. The king of Dor in the height of Dor, 1. The king of Gihon in Gilgal, 1. The king of Zer, the king of Tirzah, 1. In all, 31 kings.
13. When Joshua was an old man, the Lord said to him, "You were growing old, and much land remains to be conquered. This is the territory that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and the Geshurites, and the larger territory of the Canaanites, extending from the stream of Shihor on the border of Egypt, northward to the boundary of Ekron. It includes the territory of the 5 Philistine rulers of Gaza, Ashdod, Eshkelon, Gath, and Ekron. The land of the Avites in the south also remains to be conquered. In the north, the following area has not yet been conquered: all the land of the Canaanites, including Mehar, which belongs to the Sidonians, stretching northward to Apec, on the border of the Amorites, the land of the Jebusites, and all of the Lebanon mountain area to the east from Baal-Gad below Mount Hermon to Lebamath, and all the hill country from Lebanon to Misaphoth, Maim, including all the land of the Sidonians. I myself will drive these people out of the land ahead of the Israelites. So be sure to give this land to Israel as a special possession, just as I have commanded you. Include all this territory of Israel's possessions when you divide this land among the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh. Half the tribe of Manasseh and the tribes of Reuben and Gad had already received their grants of land on the east side of the Jordan, for Moses, the servant of the Lord, had previously assigned this land to them. Their territory extended from Aroer on the edge of the Arnon Gorge, including the town in the middle of the gorge, to the plain beyond Medeba, as far as Dibon. It also included all of the towns of King Sihon of the Amorites, who had reigned in Heshbon and extended as far as the borders of Ammon. It included Gilead, the territory of the kingdoms of Gesher and Maachah, all the Mount Hermon, all of Bashan as far as Selah, and all the territory of King Og of Bashan, who reigned in Ashtaroth and Edrei. King Og was the last of the Rephites, for Moses had attacked them and driven them out. But the Israelites failed to drive out the people of Geshur and Maachah, so they continue to live among the Israelites to this day. Moses did not assign an allotment of the land to the tribe of Levi. Instead, as the Lord had promised them, their allotment came from the offerings burned on the altar to the Lord, the God of Israel. Moses had assigned the following area to the clans of the tribe of Reuben. Their territory extended from Aroer on the edge of the Arnon Gorge, including the town in the middle of the gorge, in the plain beyond Medeba. It included Heshbon and the other towns on the plain: Dibon, Bamoth-Baal, Beth-Baal-Meon, Jahaz, Kedemoth, Mepah, Kirimathaim, Sidma, Zereth Shahar, on the hill above the valley, Beth Peor, the slopes of Pisgah, the Beth Jeshimoth, The land of the Reuben also included all the towns of the plain, the entire kingdom of Sihon. Sihon was the Amorite king who had reigned in Heshbon and was killed by Moses, along with the leaders Midian, Eviz, Rechem, Zur, Hur, and Reba, princes living in the region who were allied with Sihon. The Israelites had also killed Balaam, son of Beor, who used magic to tell the future. The Jordan River marked the western boundary for the tribe of Reuben. The towns and their surrounding villages in this area were given as a homeland to the clans of the tribe of Reuben. Moses has assigned the following area to the clans of the tribe of Gad. Their territory included Jazar, all the towns of Gilad, and half of the land of Ammon as far as the town of Aroer, just west of Rabbah. It extended from Heshbon to Ramath-Mizpeh and Betonim, and from Mahanaim to the territory of Lo Debar, in the valley where Beth Haram, Beth Miram, Succoth, Zaphon, and the rest of the king of King Sihon and of Heshbon. The western boundary ran along the Jordan River, extended as far north as the tip of the Sea of Galilee, and then turned eastward. The towns and their surrounding villages in this area were given as a homeland to the clans of the tribe of Gad. Moses had assigned the following area to the clans of the half-tribe Manasseh. Their territory extended from Mahanaim, including all the Bashan, all the former kingdom of King Og, and the 60 towns of Jah in Bashan. It also included half of Gilead and King Og's royal cities of Ashtaroth and Edrei. All this was given to the clans of the descendants of Micah, who was Manasseh's son. These are the allotments Moses had made while he was on the plains of Moab across the Jordan River east of Jericho. But Moses gave no allotment of the land to the tribe of Levi, for the Lord, the God of Israel, had promised that he himself would be their allotment.
Chapter 14 in Spanish. Estas son las tierras cananeas que el sacerdote Eleazar, Josué, hijo de Nun, y los jefes de los clanes entregaron a los israelitas como herencia. Esa herencia se les repartió por sorteo a las 9 tribus y media, tal como el Señor había ordenado por medio de Moisés. Y a este le había dado por herencia la parte oriental del Jordán a las 2 tribus y media, pues los descendientes de José se habían dividido en 2 tribus, Manasés y Efraín. Pero a los levitas no les dio tierras, sino solo algunas poblaciones con sus respectivos campos de cultivo y pastoreo. Así los israelitas dividieron el territorio tal como el Señor se lo había ordenado a Moisés. Los descendientes de Judá se acercaron a Josué en Gilgal. El kenicita Caleb, hijo de Jefone, le pidió a Josué: acuérdate de lo que el Señor le dijo a Moisés, hombre de Dios, respecto a ti y a mí en Cades Barnea. Yo tenía 40 años cuando Moisés, siervo del Señor, me envió desde Cades Barnea para explorar el país y con toda franqueza le informé de lo que vi. Mis compañeros de viaje, por el contrario, desanimaron a la gente y le infundieron temor, pero yo me mantuve fiel al Señor, mi Dios. Ese mismo día, Moisés me hizo este juramento: la tierra que toquen tus pies será herencia tuya y de tus descendientes para siempre, porque fuiste fiel al Señor, mi Dios. Ya han pasado 45 años desde que el Señor hizo la promesa por medio de Moisés. Mientras Israel peregrinaba por el desierto, aquí estoy este día con mis 85 años. El Señor me ha mantenido con vida y todavía mantengo la misma fortaleza que tenía el día en que Moisés me envió. Para la batalla tengo todas las energías que tenía entonces. Dame, pues, la región montañosa que el Señor me prometió en esa ocasión. Desde ese día, tú bien sabes que los anaquitas habitan allí y sus ciudades son enormes y fortificadas. Sin embargo, con la ayuda del Señor, los expulsaré de ese territorio, tal como Él ha prometido. Entonces Josué bendijo a Caleb y le dio por herencia el territorio de Hebrón. A partir de ese día, Hebrón ha pertenecido al kenicita Caleb, hijo de Jefone, porque fue fiel al Señor, Dios de Israel. Hebrón se llamaba originalmente Kiriat Arba, porque Arba fue un importante antepasado de los anaquitas. Después de todo esto, el país se vio libre de guerras.
Chapter 15. So this was the lot of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. The border of Edom at the wilderness of Sin, southward was the stream's southern boundary, and their southern border began at the shore of the Salt Sea, from the bay that faces southward. Then it went out to the southern side of the ascent of Akrabim, passed along to Sin, ascended on the south side of Kadesh Barnea, passed along to Hezron, went up to Adar, and went around to Karka. From there it passed toward Asmon and went out to the brook of Egypt, and the border ended at the sea. This shall be your southern border. The east border was the Salt Sea as far as the mouth of the Jordan, and the border of the northern quarter began at the bay of the sea at the mouth of the Jordan. The border went down to Beth Hogla and passed north of Beth Arabah, and the border went up to the stone of Boan, the son of Reuben. Then the border went up toward Debir from the valley of Baikur, and it turned northward toward Gilgal, which is before the ascent of Adumim, which is on the south side of the valley. The border continued toward the waters of En Semesh and ended at Ben Rogel. And the border went up by valley of the son of Hinnom to the southern slope of the Jebusite city, which is Jerusalem. The border went up to the top of the mountain that lies before the valley of Hinnom westward, which is at the end of the valley of Rephaim northward. Then the border went around from the top of the hill to the fountain of the water of Nephtoah and extended to the city of Mount Ephron. And the border went around to Bala, which is Kirjat Jearim. Then the border turned westward to Bala, to Mount Seir, passed along to the side of Mount Jearim on the north, which is Cesalon, went down to Beth Semesh, and passed on to Timan. And the border went out to the side of Ekron northward. Then the border went around to Shekron, passed along to Mount Bala, and extended to Jabnel, and the border ended at the sea. The west border was the coastline of the Great Sea. This is the boundary of the children of Judah all around according to their families. Caleb occupies Hebron and Debir. Now to Caleb, the son of Jeshumeh, they gave a share among the children of Judah according to the commandment of the Lord to Joshua, namely Kirjat Arba, which is Hebron. Arba was the father of Anak. Caleb drove out the three sons of Anak from there, Shesai, Ahiman, and Tamai, the children of Anak. Then he went up from there to the inhabitants of Debir. Formerly the name of Debir was Kirjat Sefer. And Caleb said, he who attacks Kirjat Sefer and takes it, to him I will give Aksash, my daughter, as wife. So Othniel, the son of Ketnaz, the brother of Caleb, took it. And he gave him Asha, his daughter, as wife. Now it was so when she came to him that she persuaded him to ask her father for a field. So they dismounted of her donkey, and Caleb said to her, what do you wish? She answered, give me a blessing. Since you have given me land in the south, give me also springs of water. So he gave her the upper springs and the lower springs. This was the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Judah according to their families. The cities at the limits of the tribe of the children of Judah toward the border of Edom in the south were Kabseel, Eder, Jagur, Kina, Dimona, Adaha, Kadesh, Azor, Idnan, Zib, Telem, Belot, Azor, Aradat, Kerlot, Esron, which is Azor, Amam, Shema, Molada, Azar, Gada, Esmon, Beth, Pelet, Azar, Shual, Berseba, Bishota, Bala, Ihim, Esem, El Tolad, Chesil, Hormad, Siklag, Batmanah, Chansanan, Lebaot, Silsim, Ain, and Rimon. All the cities are 29 with their villages. In the lowland, Estaol, Sora, Asna, Sanoa, En Ganin, Tapua, Enan, Harmut, Adullah, Soko, Azekah, Sharaim, Aditaim, Gedera, and Gaderotaim, 14 cities with their villages. Senan, Hadashash, Migal, Gad, Dilean, Mispach, Hotel, Lakish, Bokrat, Eglon, Kabon, Lachmas, Kitish, Yederot, Betagon, Nama, and Makeda, 16 cities with their villages. Livna, Esther, Asan, Jiptah, Ashnat, Teskib, Keilah, Aschib, and Basherax, 9 cities with their villages. Ekron with its towns and villages. From Ekron to the sea, and that lay near Ashdod with their villages. Ashdod with its towns and villages, Gaza with its towns and villages as far as the brook of Egypt and the great sea with its coastline. And in the mountain country, Shamir, Jarir, Soshosh, Dana, Kirjat, Santan, which is Debir, Anav, Estemot, Anim, Hoshen, Golon, and Gilon, 11 cities with their villages. Arab, Dunam, Eschen, Janub, Beth, Tapua, Abnekah, Humad, Kirtat, Arba, which is Hebron, and Sior, 9 cities with their villages. Maon, Carmel, Sib, Jutah, Jezreel, Jokdekam, Sanoah, Cain, Gibeah, and Timan, 10 cities with their villages. Halul, Bet Sekur, Hedor, Marath, Bet Anoth with El Ketekon, 6 cities with their villages. Kikrat Baal, which is Kikrat Yarim, and Rabbah, 2 cities with their villages. In the wilderness, Bet Arabah, Midim, Sekaha, Nibshan, the city of salt, and En-Gedi, 6 cities with their villages. As for the Jebusites, the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the children of Judah could not drive them out, but the Jebusites dwell with the children of Judah at Jerusalem to this day.
Chapter 16. The lot fell to the children of Joseph from the Jordan by Jericho, to the waters of Jericho on the east, to the wilderness that goes up from Jericho through the mountains to Bethel. Then went out from Bethel to Luz, passed along to the border of the Archites at Ataroth, and went down westward to the boundary of the Japhlethites, as far as the boundary of Lower Beth Horon to Gezer, and it ended at the sea. So the children of Joseph, Manasseh, and Ephraim took their inheritance. The border of the children of Ephraim, according to their families, was thus. The border of their inheritance on the east side was Ataroth Adar, as far as Upper Beth Horon. And the border went out toward the sea on the north side of Michmethath. Then the border went around eastward to Tanath Shiloh, and passed by it on the east of Janohah. Then it went down from Janohah to Ataroth and Nahara, reached to Jericho, and came out at the Jordan. The border went out from Tapua westward to the brook Kana, and it ended at the sea. This was the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Ephraim, according to their families. The separate cities for the children of Ephraim were among the inheritance of the children of Manasseh, all the cities with their villages. And they did not drive out the Canaanites who dwelt in Gezer, but the Canaanites dwell among the Ephraimites to this day and have become forced laborers.
Chapter 17. There was also a lot for the tribe of Manasseh, for he was the firstborn of Joseph, to wit, for Machir, the firstborn of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, because he was a man of war, therefore he had Gilead and Bashan. There was also a lot for the rest of the children of Manasseh by their families. For the children of Abiezer, and the children of Helek, and for the children of Asriel, and for the children of Shechem, and for the children of Hephnah, and for the children of Shemida. These were the male children of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, by their families. For Zephlah, the son of Hephnah, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons, but daughters. And these are the names of his daughters, Mahala and Noah, Hoglah, Miklah, and Tisra. And they came near before Eleazar the priest, and before Joshua the son of Nun, and before the princess, saying, The Lord commanded Moses to give us an inheritance among our brethren. Therefore, according to the commandments of the Lord, he gave them an inheritance among the brethren for their father, of their father. And there fell 10 portions to Manasseh beside the land of Gilead and Bashan, which were on the other side of Jordan. Because the daughters of Manasseh had an inheritance amongst his sons, and the rest of Manasseh's sons had the land of Gilead. And the coast of Manasseh was from Asher to Michem, that lieth before Shechem. And the border went along the right hand unto the inhabitants of En-Tappuah. Now Manasseh had the land of Tappuah, but Tappuah on the border of Manasseh belonged to the children of Ephraim. And the coast descended into the river of Canaan, southward of the river. These cities of Ephraim are among the cities of Manasseh. The coast of Manasseh also was on the north side of the river, and the outgoings of it were at the sea. Southward it was Ephraim's, and northward it was Manasseh's. And the sea is his border, and they met together in Asher on the north, and Issachar on the east. And Manasseh had in Issachar and in Asher Bethlehem and her towns, and Iblam and her towns, and the inhabitants of Dor and her towns, and the inhabitants of Endor and her towns, and the inhabitants of Takana and her towns, and the inhabitants of Megiddo and her towns, even 3 countries. Yet the children of Manasseh could not drive out the inhabitants of those cities, but the Canaanites would dwell in that land. Yet it came to pass, when the children of Israel were waxen strong, that they put the Canaanites to tribute, but did not utterly drive them out. And the children of Joseph spoke unto Joshua, saying, Why hast thou given me but one lot and one portion to inherit, seeing I am a great people, for as much as the Lord had blessed me hitherto? And Joshua answered them, If thou be a great people, then get thee up to the wood country, and cut down for thyself there in the land of the Perizzites and of the giants, if Mount Ephraim be too narrow for thee. And the children of Joseph said, The hill is not enough for us, and all the Canaanites that dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron. But they who are of Bethsham and her towns, and they who are of the valley of Jezreel. And Joshua spoke unto the house of Joseph, even unto Ephraim and to Manasseh, saying, Thou art a great people, and hast great power. Thou shalt not have one lot only, but the mountain shall be thine, for it is a wood, and thou shalt cut it down, and the outgoings of it shall be thine. For thou shalt drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots. and though they be strong.
Chapter 18. Now the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh, and set up the tabernacle of meeting there. And the land was subdued before them. But there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes, which had not yet received their inheritance. Then Joshua said to the children of Israel, "How long will you neglect to go and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers has given you? Pick out from among you 3 men for each tribe, and I will send them. They shall arise and go through the land, survey it according to their inheritance, and come back to me. And they shall divide it into 7 parts. Judah shall remain in their territory on the south, and the house of Joseph shall remain in their territory on the north. You shall therefore survey the land in 7 parts, and bring the survey here to me, that I may cast lots for you here before the Lord our God. But the Levites have no part among you, for the priesthood of the Lord is their inheritance. And Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond the Jordan on the east, which Moses the servant of the Lord gave them." Then the men arose to go away, and Joshua charged those who went to survey the land, saying, "Go, walk through the land, survey it, and come back to me, that I may cast lots for you here before the Lord in Shiloh." So the men went, passed through the land, and wrote the survey in a book in 7 parts by cities. And they came to Joshua at the camp in Shiloh. Then Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord. And there Joshua divided the land to the children of Israel according to their divisions. Now the lot of the tribe of the children of Benjamin came up according to their families, and the territory of their lot came out between the children of Judah and the children of Joseph. Their border on the north side began at the Jordan, and border went up to the side of Jericho on the north, and went up through the mountains westward. It ended at the wilderness of Beth-aven. The border went over from there towards Luz, to the side of Luz, which is Bethel, southward. And the border descended to Ataroth Adar, near the hill that lies on the south side of Lower Beth-horon. Then the border extended around the west side to the south, from the hill that lies before Beth-horon southward, and it ended in Kirjath-baal, which is Kirjath-jearim, a city of the children of Judah. This was the west side. The south side began at the end of Kirjath-jearim, and the border extended on the west and went out to the spring of the waters of Nephtal. Then the border came down to the end of the mountain that lies before the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is the valley of the Rephaim on the north, descended to the valley of Hinnom, to the side of the Jebusite city of the south, and descended to En-Rogel. And it went around from the north, went out to En-Shemesh, and extended towards Geleoth, which is before the ascent of Adumaim, and descended to the stone of Bohan, the son of Reuben. Then it passed along the north side of Arabah, and went down to Arabah. And the border passed along to the north side of Beth-hoglah. Then the border ended at the North Bay, at the Salt Sea, at the south end of the Jordan. This was the southern boundary. The Jordan was its border on the east side. This was the inheritance of the children of Benjamin, according to its boundaries all around, according to their families. Now the cities of the tribe of the children of Benjamin, according to their families, were Jericho, Beth-hoglah, Emek-keziz, Beth-arabah, Zemaraim, Bethel, Avim, Para, Ophrah, Shephar Harmoni, Ophni, and Gaba. 12 cities with their villages: Gibeon, Ramah, Beeroth, Mizpah, Chephirah, Moza, Rechem, Irpeel, Taralal, Zelah, Eleph, Jebus, which is Jerusalem, Gibeath, and Kirjath, 14 cities with their villages. This was the inheritance of the children of Benjamin according to their families.
Chapter 19. The second lot fell to Simeon, to the tribe of the Simeonites, according to their families, and their inheritance lay within that of the people of Judah. And they had for their inheritance Beersheba, Orsheba, Molada, Hazar-Shual, Bala, Ezem, El-Talad, Bethel, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazar Susa, Beth Lebaoth, and Sharuhen, making 13 cities and their villages. Ain, with Rimmon, Ether, and Ashan, making 4 cities and their villages. And all the villages around these cities, as far as Balath-beer, or Ramah of the Negeb. This was the possession of the Simeonites according to their families. Out of the part assigned to the Judahites was the inheritance of the tribe of Simeon. For the portion of the tribe of Judah was too large for them. Therefore, the tribe of Simeon had its inheritance in the midst of Judah's inheritance. The third lot came up for the tribe of Zebulun, according to their families. The border of its inheritance extended to Sarid. Then its boundary went up westward and on to Marala, and reached to Dabesheth and to the brook east of Jokneim. And it turned from Sarid eastward to the border of Chisloth-Tabor, and it went out to Debarath and on up to Japhia. Then passed eastward to Gath-Hepher, Jonah's birthplace, and to Eth-Kazin, and went on to Rimmon, bending toward Nia. The boundary circled on the north to Hanathon, ending at the valley of Ifta-El. Included were Qatar, Nahalal, Shimron, Idalah, and Bethlehem, 12 cities with their villages. This is the inheritance of the people of Zebulun, according to their families, these cities with their villages. The fourth lot fell to Issachar, to its people according to their families. Their territory included Jezreel, Chesuleth, Shunem, Hapharaim, Shion, Anaharath, Rabbith, Kishion, Ebez, Remeth, En-Ganim, En-Hada, and Beth-Pazez. The boundary reached to Tabor, Shahazuma, and Beth-Shemesh, and ended at the Jordan, 16 cities with their villages. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Issachar, according to their families, the cities and their villages. The fifth lot fell to the tribe of Asher, according to their families. Their territory included Helkath, Hali, Beten, Akshaph, Alamelech, Ahmad, and Mishal. And on the west, it touched Carmel and Shihor Libnath. Then it turned eastward to Beth Dagon, touching Zebulun and the valley of Ifta-El, northward to Beth Emek and Neiel, and continued in the north to Kabul, Ebron, Rehob, Hammon, and Canaan, even to populous Sidon. Then the boundary turned to Ramah, reaching to the fortified city of Tyre, and it turned to Hosa and ended at the sea, Mahalab, Akzib, Umah, Afek, and Rehob, 22 cities with their villages. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Asher, according to their families, these cities with their villages. The sixth lot fell to the tribe of Naphtali, according to their families. Their boundary ran from Heleph, from the oak in Zanaim, and Adami, Nekeb, and Jabneel, as far as Lakum, and it ended at the Jordan. Then the boundary turned westward to Aznoth Tabor, and went from there to Hukok, touching Zebulun on the south, Asher on the west, and Judah on the east at the Jordan. The fortified cities included Ziddim, Zer, Hamath, Rakath, Chinnereth, Adama, Ramah, Hazor, Kedesh, Edrei, En-Hazor, Yiron, Migdal-El, Horem, Beth Anath, and Beth Shemesh, 19 cities and their villages. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Naphtali, according to their families, the cities and their villages. And the seventh lot fell to the tribe of Dan, according to their families. The territory of their inheritance included Zorah, Eshtaol, Irshemeth, Shalabin, Ajalon, Ithla, Elon, Timnah, Ekron, Elteke, Gibethon, Balath, Jehud, Beni Berak, Gathrimon, Mijarkon, and Rakon, with the territory before Joppa. The territory of the tribe of Dan had to be extended because of the crowding of the Amorites and Philistines. So the sons of Dan went up to fight against Leshem or Laish and took it and smote it with the sword and possessed it and dwelt there. And they called Leshem, Laish, Dan, after Dan, their forefather. This is the inheritance of the tribe of Dan, according to their families, these cities with their villages. When they had finished dividing the land for inheritance by their boundaries, the Israelites gave an inheritance among them to Joshua, son of Nun. According to the word of the Lord, they gave him the city for which he asked, Timnath-Serah, in the hills of Ephraim. And he built the city and dwelt in it. These are the inheritances which Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers' houses of the tribes of Israel distributed by lot in Shiloh before the Lord at the door of the tent of meeting. So they finished dividing the land.
Chapter 20. Then the Lord said to Joshua, "Tell the Israelites to designate the cities of refuge, as I instructed you through Moses, so that everyone who kills a person accidentally and unintentionally may flee there and find protection from the avenger of blood. When they flee to one of these cities, they are to stand in the entrance of the city gate and state their case before the elders of that city. Then the elders are to admit the fugitive into their city and provide a place to live among them. If the avenger of blood comes in pursuit, the elders must not surrender the fugitive because the fugitive killed their neighbor unintentionally and without malice aforethought. They are to stay in that city until they have stood trial before the assembly and until the death of the high priest who is serving at that time. Then they may go back to their own home in the town from which they fled." So they set apart Kadesh in Galilee, in the hill country of Naphtali, Shechem in the hill country of Ephraim, and Kiriath Arba, that is Hebron, in the hill country of Judah. East of the Jordan, on the other side from Jericho, they designated Bezar, in the wilderness on the plateau, in the tribe of Reuben, Ramoth in Gilead, in the tribe of Gad, and Golan Bashan, in the tribe of Manasseh. Any of the Israelites or any foreigner residing among them who killed someone accidentally could flee to these designated cities and not be killed by the avenger of blood prior to standing trial before the assembly.
Came near to Eleazar the priest, to Joshua the son of Nun, and to the heads of the fathers' houses of the tribes of the children of Israel. And they spoke to them at Shiloh in the land of Canaan, saying, "The Lord commanded through Moses to give us cities to dwell in, with their common lands for our livestock." So the children of Israel gave to the Levites from their inheritance, at the commandment of the Lord, these cities and their common lands. Now, the lot came out for the families of the Kohathites and the children of Aaron the priest, who were of the Levites, had 13 cities by lot from the tribe of Judah, from the tribe of Simeon, and from the tribe of Benjamin. The rest of the children of Kohath had 10 cities by lot from the families of the tribe of Ephraim, from the tribe of Dan, and from the half-tribe of Manasseh. And the children of Gershon had 13 cities by lot from the families of the tribe of Issachar, from the tribe of Asher, from the tribe of Naphtali, and from the half-tribe of Manasseh in Bashan. The children of Merari, according to their families, had 12 cities from the tribe of Reuben, from the tribe of Gad, and from the tribe of Zebulun. And the children of Israel gave these cities with their common lands by lot to the Levites, as the Lord had commanded by the hand of Moses. So they gave from the tribe of the children of Judah, and from the tribe of the children of Simeon, these cities which are designated by name, which were for the children of Aaron, one of the families of the Kohathites, who were of the children of Levi, for the lot was theirs first. And they gave them Kirjath Arba. Arba was the father of Anak, which is Hebron, in the mountains of Judah, with the common land surrounding it. But the fields of the city and its villages they gave to Caleb the son of Jephunneh as his possession. Thus to the children of Aaron, the priest, they gave Hebron with its common land, a city of refuge for the slayer, Libnah with its common land, Jatir with its common land, Estemoa with its common land, Holon with its common land, Debir with its common land, Ain with its common land, Judah with its common land, and Beth Shemesh with its common land. 9 cities from these 2 tribes, and from the tribe of Benjamin, Gibeon with its common land, Geba with its common land, Anathoth with its common land, and Almon with its common land. 4 cities. All the cities of the children of Aaron, the priests, were 13 cities with their common lands. And the families of the children of Kohath, the Levites, the rest of the children of Kohath, even they had the cities of their lot from their tribe of Ephraim. For they gave them Sechem with its common land in the mountains of Ephraim, a city of refuge for the slayer, Gezer with its common land, Kibzaim with its common land, and Beth-horon with its common land, 4 cities, and from the tribe of Dan, Eltekeh with its common land, Gibbethon with its common land, Aijalon with its common land, and Gath-Rimmon with its common land, 4 cities, and from the half-tribe of Manasseh, Tanach with its common land, and Gath-Rimmon with its common land, 2 cities. All the 10 cities with their common lands were for the rest of the families of the children of Kohath. Also to the children of Gershon, of the families of the Levites, from the other half-tribe of Manasseh, they gave Golan and Bashan with its common land, a city of refuge for the slayer, and Beestera with its common land, 2 cities, and from the tribe of Issachar, Kishion with its common land, Dabarath with its common land, Jarmuth with its common land, and En-Ganim with its common land, 4 cities, and from the tribe of Asher, Mishal with its common land, Abdon with its common land, Helkath with its common land, and Rehob with its common land, 4 cities, and from the tribe of Naphtali, Kadesh and Galilee with its common land, a city of refuge for the slayer, Hamath-dor with its common land, and Kartan with its common land, 3 cities. All the cities of the Gershonites, according to the families, were 13 cities with their common lands. And to the families of the children of Merari, the rest of the Levites from the tribe of Zebulun, Jokneam with its common land, Karta with its common land, Dimnah with its common land, and Nahalal with its common land, 4 cities. And from the tribe of Reuben, Bezar with its common land, Jahaz with its common land, Kedemoth with its common land, and Mepath with its common land, 4 cities. And from the tribe of Gad, Ramoth and Gilead with its common land, a city of refuge for the slayer, Mahanaim with its common land, Heshbon with its common land, and Jazer with its common land, 4 cities in all. So all the cities for the children of Merari, according to their families. The rest of the families of the Levites were by the lot 12 cities. All the cities of the Levites within the possession of the children of Israel were 48 cities with their common lands. Every one of these cities had its common land surrounding it. Thus were all these cities. So the Lord gave to Israel all the land of which he had sworn to give to their fathers, and they took possession of it and dwelt in it. The Lord gave them rest all around, according to all that he had sworn to their fathers. And not a man of all their enemies stood against them. The Lord delivered all their enemies into their hand. Not a word failed of any good thing which the Lord had spoken to the house of Israel. All came to pass.
Chapter 22. Then Joshua summoned the Reubenites, the Gadites, and half the tribe of Manasseh, and said to them, "You have observed all that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, and have obeyed me in all that I have commanded you. You have not forsaken your kindred these many days, down to this day, but have been careful to keep the charge of the Lord your God. And now the Lord your God has given rest to your kindred, as he promised them. Therefore, turn and go to your tents in the land where your possession lies, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave you on the other side of the Jordan. Take good care to observe the commandment and instruction that Moses, the servant of the Lord, commanded you, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, to keep his commandments, and to hold fast to him, and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul." So Joshua blessed them and sent them away, and they went to their tents. Now to one half of the tribe of Manasseh, Moses had given a possession in Bashan. But to the other half, Joshua had given a possession beside their fellow Israelites in the land west of the Jordan. And when Joshua sent them away to their tents and blessed them, he said to them, "Go back to your tents with much wealth and with very much livestock, with silver, gold, bronze, and iron, and with great quantity of clothing. Divide the spoil of your enemies with your kindred." So the Reubenites and the Gadites and half tribe of Manasseh returned home, parting from the Israelites at Shiloh, which is in the land of Canaan, to go to the land of Gilead, their own land of which they had taken possession by command of the Lord through Moses. When they came to the region near the Jordan that lies in the land of Canaan, the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh built their altar by the Jordan, an altar of great size. The Israelites heard that the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh had built an altar at the frontier of the land of Canaan, in the region near the Jordan, on the side that belongs to the Israelites. And when the people of Israel heard of it, the whole assembly of the Israelites gathered at Shiloh to make war against them. Then the Israelites sent the priest Phinehas, son of Eleazar, to the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half tribe of Manasseh in the land of Gilead, and with him 10 chiefs, one from each of the tribal families of Israel, every one of them the head of a family among the clans of Israel. They came to the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh in the land of Gilead, and they said to them, "Thus says the whole congregation of the Lord, what is this treachery that you have committed against God of Israel, in turning away today from following the Lord, by building yourselves an altar today in rebellion against the Lord? Have we not had enough of the sin at Peor, from which even yet we have not cleansed ourselves, and for which a plague came upon the congregation of the Lord, that you must turn away today from following the Lord? If you rebel against the Lord today, he will be angry with the whole congregation of Israel tomorrow. But now, if your land is unclean, cross over into the Lord's land where the Lord's tabernacle now stands, and take yourselves a possession among us. Only do not rebel against the Lord, or rebel against us by building yourselves an altar other than the altar of the Lord our God. Did not Achan, son of Zerah, break faith in the matter of the devoted things, and wrath fell upon all the congregation of Israel? And he did not perish alone for his iniquity." Then the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half tribe of Manasseh said in answer to the heads of the families of Israel, "The Lord God of gods, the Lord God of gods, he knows, and let Israel itself know. If it was in rebellion or in breach of faith towards the Lord, do not spare us today for building an altar to turn away from following the Lord. Or if we did so to offer burnt offerings or grain offerings or offerings of well-being on it, may the Lord himself take vengeance. No, We did it from fear that in times to come, your children might say to our children, what have you to do with the Lord, the God of Israel? For the Lord has made the Jordan a boundary between us and you Reubenites and Gadites. You have no portion in the Lord. So your children might make our children cease to worship the Lord. Therefore, we said, let us now build an altar, not for burnt offering, nor for sacrifice, but to be a witness between us and you, and between the generations after us, that we do perform the service of the Lord in his presence with our burnt offerings and sacrifices and offerings of well-being, so that your children may never say to our children in time to come, you have no portion in the Lord. And we thought, if this should be said to us or to our descendants in time to come, we could say, look at this copy of the altar of the Lord, which our ancestors made, not for burnt offerings, nor for sacrifice, but to be a witness between us and you. Far be it from that we should rebel against the Lord and turn away this day from following the Lord by building an altar for burnt offering, grain offering, or sacrifice, other than the altar of the Lord our God that stands before his tabernacle. When the priest Phinehas and the chiefs of the congregation, the heads of the families of Israel who were with him, heard the words that the Reubenites and the Gadites and the Manassites spoke, they were satisfied. The priest Phinehas, son of Eleazar, said to the Reubenites and the Gadites and the Manassites, today we know that the Lord is among us, because you have not committed this treachery against the Lord. Now you have saved the Israelites from the hand of the Lord. Then the priest Phinehas, son of Eleazar, and the priests returned from the Reubenites and the Gadites in the land of Gilead to the land of Canaan, to the Israelites, and brought back word to them. The report pleased the Israelites, and the Israelites blessed God and spoke no more of making war against them to destroy the land where the Reubenites and the Gadites were settled. The Reubenites and the Gadites called the altar witness, for, said they, it is a witness between us that the Lord is God.
Chapter 23, in French. Depuis longtemps, l'Éternel avait donné du repos à Israël, en le délivrant de tous les ennemis qui l'entouraient. Josué était vieux, avancé en âge. Alors Josué convoqua tout Israël, ses anciens, ses chefs, ses juges et ses officiers. Il leur dit, « Je suis vieux, je suis avancé en âge. Vous avez vu tout ce que l'Éternel, votre Dieu, a fait à toutes ces nations devant vous, car c'est l'Éternel, votre Dieu, qui a combattu pour vous. Voyez, je vous ai donné en héritage par le sort, selon vos tribus, ces nations qui sont restées à partir du Jourdain et toutes les nations que j'ai exterminées jusqu'à la grande mer vers le soleil couchant. L'Éternel, votre Dieu, les repoussera devant vous et les chassera devant vous, et vous posséderez leur pays, comme l'Éternel, votre Dieu, vous l'a dit. Appliquez-vous avec force, à observer et à mettre en pratique tout ce qui est écrit dans le livre de la loi de Moïse, sans vous en détourner ni à droite ni à gauche. Ne vous mêlez point avec ces nations qui sont restées parmi vous. Ne prononcez point le nom de leur Dieu et ne l'employez point en jurant. Ne les servez point et ne vous prosternez point devant eux. Mais attachez-vous à l'Éternel votre Dieu, comme vous l'avez fait jusqu'à ce jour. L'Éternel a chassé devant vous des nations grandes et puissantes, et personne jusqu'à ce jour n'a pu vous résister. Un seul d'entre vous en poursuivait 1000, car l'Éternel votre Dieu combattait pour vous, comme il vous l'a dit. Veillez donc attentivement sur vos âmes, afin d'aimer l'Éternel votre Dieu. Si vous vous détournez, et que vous vous attachez au reste de ces nations qui sont demeurées parmi vous, si vous vous unissez avec elles par des mariages, et si vous formez ensemble des relations, soyez certains que l'Éternel votre Dieu ne continuera pas à chasser ces nations devant vous, mais elles seront pour vous un filet et un piège, un fouet dans vos côtés et des épines dans vos yeux, jusqu'à ce que vous ayez péri de dessus ce bon pays que l'Éternel votre Dieu vous a donné. Voici, je m'en vais maintenant par le chemin de toute la terre. Reconnaissez de tout votre cœur et de toute votre âme qu'aucune de toutes les bonnes paroles prononcées sur vous par l'Éternel, votre Dieu, n'est restée sans effet. Toutes se sont accomplies pour vous. Aucune n'est restée sans effet. Et comme toutes les bonnes paroles que l'Éternel, votre Dieu, vous a dites, se sont accomplies pour vous, de même l'Éternel accomplira sur vous toutes les paroles mauvaises, jusqu'à ce qu'il vous ait détruit de dessus ce bon pays que l'Éternel, votre Dieu, vous a donné. Si vous transgressez l'alliance que l'Éternel, votre Dieu, vous a prescrite, et si vous allez servir d'autres dieux, et vous prosternez devant eux, la colère de l'Éternel s'enflammera contre vous, et vous périrez promptement dans le bon pays qu'il vous a donné.
And Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem, and called for the elders of Israel, and for heads, and for their judges, and for their officers. And they presented themselves before God. And Joshua said unto all the people, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham, and the father of Nahor, and they served other gods. And I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood, and led them throughout all the land of Canaan, and multiplied his seed, and gave him Isaac. And I gave unto Isaac Jacob and Esau. And I gave Esau Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. I sent Moses also and Aaron, and I plagued Egypt according to that which I did among them. And afterward I brought you out. And I brought your fathers out of Egypt. And he came onto the sea, and the Egyptians pursued after your fathers with chariots and horsemen unto the Red Sea. And when they cried unto the Lord, he put darkness between you and the Egyptians, and brought the sea upon them, and covered them, and your eyes have seen what I have done in Egypt, and he dwelt in the wilderness a long season. And I brought you into the land of the Amorites, which dwell on the other side Jordan. And they fought with you, and I gave him into your hand, that he might possess their land. But I destroyed them from before you. Then Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, arose and warred against Israel, and sent and called Balaam, the son of Beor, to curse you. But I would not hearken to Balaam. Therefore he blessed you still. So I delivered you out of his hand. And he went to Jordan and came into Jericho, and the men of Jericho fought against you, the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hittites and Jerizzites, the Hivites and the Jebusites. And I delivered them into your hand. And I send the hornet before you, will drave them out from before you, even the two kings of the Amorites, but not with thy sword, nor with thy bow. And I give you a land of which he did not labor, and cities that he built not, and he dwelt in them of the vineyards and olive yards which he planted, nor do we eat. Now therefore fear the Lord, and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood, and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom he will serve, whether the gods which your fathers that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land ye dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And the people answered and said, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. For the Lord our God, he it is that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage, and which those great signs in our sight, and preserved us all the way wherein we went, and among all the people through whom we passed. And the Lord drave out from before us all the people, even the Amorites which dwell in the land. Therefore, we also serve the Lord, for he is our God. And Joshua said unto the people, ye cannot serve the Lord, for he is a holy God. He is a jealous God. He will not forgive your transgressions or your sin. If he forsake the Lord and serve strange gods, then he will turn and do you hurt and consume you after that he hath done you good. And the people said unto Joshua, Nay, but we will serve the Lord. And Joshua said unto the people, Ye are witnesses against yourselves, that you have chosen the Lord to serve him. And they said, We are witnesses. Now therefore put away, said he, the strange gods, and which are among you, and incline your heart unto the Lord God of Israel. And the people said unto Joshua, The Lord our God will we serve, and his voice will we obey. And Joshua made a covenant with the people that day, and set them a statute and an audience in Shechem. And Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God, and took a great stone and set it upon there under the oak that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. And Joshua said unto all the people, Behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us, for it hath heard all the words of the Lord, which he spake unto us. It shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest ye deny your God. And Joshua let the people depart, every man unto his inheritance. And it came to pass after these things, that Joshua, the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old. And they buried him in the border of his inheritance, Timnah Serah, which is in Mount Ephraim, on the north side of the hill of Gash. And Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua, and all the days of the elders that overlived Joshua, and which had known all the works of the Lord that he had done for Israel. And the bones of Joseph, which the children of Israel brought up out of Egypt, buried they in Shechem, in a parcel of ground which Jacob bought of the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver. And it became the inheritance of the children of Joseph. And Eleazar the son of Aaron died, and they buried him in a hill that pertained to Phinehas his son, which was given him in Mount Ephraim.